This is also just like manifesting.
Not really taking no for an answer.
I actually thought she was going to take away my offer
Oh,
because
that's scary.
this is actually just fate.
Good. Now we are all synced up. Are you ready?
No. I have all the time in the world, as Jensen Huang says. Welcome to your A+ life.
Hello.
Hello.
Who are you? Could you please introduce yourself? Person that looks similar to me.
Similar to me. Hello, everyone. My name is Angel. If you don't know me, I am Amy's sister. Her younger sister, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for having me. I wanted to start this podcast with like a really low voice.
I could tell that you were making yourself sound different than usual.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it sounds mature. How am I doing now?
But it's weird. Just be yourself.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Could you please introduce yourself? Like more about you rather than just your name.
Oh,
that
yes,
you're my
yes.
sister.
Sorry. I mean, I think that's what people care about. But anyway, what did I say?
Where'd you go to school?
Okay. Yeah, so I actually just graduated from the California Institute of Technology, also known as Caltech, which is super exciting. I graduated with a computer science degree not too long ago, and I'm actually going to be moving to New York very soon, and starting my job as a software engineer at LinkedIn in the Empire State Building, in the new New York office, and I will actually be starting tomorrow, which is super exciting, but also a bit nerve-wracking for sure because it's going to be my first job, like full-on job.
Yeah, she's starting in like 12, 14 hours or so. Basically wanted to hear her thoughts as a new grad before she actually starts her job and then see how that changes, because I know that things were very turbulent when I was a new grad. Like, I went into my first job super excited and like, oh wow, this is my first big girl job, my life is gonna be so much more independent and like there's more freedom. But we'll go into how I actually felt later on. So you graduated not so long ago, but specifically she actually graduated this year, June 2024.
Yes.
So she's actually literally fresh out of college.
Scary.
Yeah. So how would you describe your feelings in this current moment about becoming a quote unquote real adult?
Yeah, I think it's definitely really crazy. I don't think I'll be able to process everything until I'm actually like starting tomorrow. I think like I said, it's very hard to process and think about because our whole lives we go through school starting from like elementary school or even like preschool, and like all we've known is just studying, taking tests, doing homework, and then having our like winter breaks, summer breaks. But this is going to be the first time where I'm going to be working 9 to 5, like 5 days a week. And there aren't summer breaks. I mean, of course, there are like week-long breaks, like holidays and everything, but it's a very different dynamic that I'm excited to kind of dive into, but it's definitely very like unknown. Of course, I've done internships before, but that's different because you know that it's going to end in 3 months and you have like a single project that you're going to work on as an intern. This will be just like, also you have a mentor during your internship, but I'll have a mentor when I start off, I think, but after that I'll just be like fully independent and working on my own projects with my team, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, definitely unknown, but it's definitely something that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting to hear your thoughts right out of school, because a lot of people start to feel really lost in their 20s, and maybe following your journey, if you like come back and speak on this podcast again, we can see how your thinking changes and like the ways in which you find yourself, or like when you feel lost, and like all the little things that happen that can potentially help someone out there who's going through a similar time. So are you nervous or scared of anything?
Yeah, I think I'm just really scared of the uncertainty. Um, I think like I am scared to be given so much responsibility, I guess, like going into a new job. Like, I think it's definitely very cool to take like ownership and like the things that you can create because I'll be doing software engineering. At the same time, like, I'll be treading through like unknown waters. Is that a saying that people say? Treading through something.
Sure, sure. Good thing your job is not in like writing or something.
Yeah, I sucked at writing. Um, but yeah, I think with everything, I mean, this is definitely a very big change in my life that I'm looking forward to, like going through. And even if there are going to be some obstacles, I think that is what will make it even more exciting. Trying to like fight through those challenges and really like learn new skills and meet a lot of new people in the big city as well is something that I'm looking forward to. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff to think about. Like, I actually wasn't going to be in New York until like 3 weeks ago. And so, like, I have a lot of like thinking of like, wow, my life's going to be in New York. Like, there's a lot of people to meet, a lot of like things to do, just a lot of things to consider in addition to like starting this
Yeah,
job.
tell us about your crazy story of suddenly being in New York for your job.
Yeah, so I actually interned at LinkedIn last summer in 2023. I had an amazing time. I actually made a video on this if people are curious. But yeah, I had an amazing time and I ended up getting a return offer. But even though I really wanted to be in New York City, because I knew there was an office in New York City and I wanted to be close to Amy, of course. The offer was unfortunately tied to Sunnyvale. I was in Sunnyvale for my internship and it was great, but honestly, as someone who's like really young, I feel like we definitely prefer being in like cities, at least if you're like very extroverted or just like enjoy that kind of stimuli. And so, yeah, that was definitely my preference, unfortunately. I was going to be in the Bay, but I enjoyed my internship so much and I love the company a lot. So that's why I decided to take the return offer. Yeah, I actually looked for housing and found roommates and everything. It was like pretty much set. I graduated from Caltech, went on a senior trip with my friends. We went to Amsterdam together to see Taylor Swift at the Eras tour, which was really fun. And then we ended up coming back to New York so I could stay with Amy for a little bit before I was supposed to fly to California to start my job. One day we were supposed to go to the gym together just like any other day in New York. And then I got a call from my recruiter and she was like, "Hey Angel, like just wanted to check in how you're doing on like your Sunnyvale move and if everything's like set in stone." And then I actually thought she was going to take away my offer because
Oh, that's scary.
like I've heard of like people getting their like jobs taken away, like not specifically like LinkedIn. I don't think I've heard of that at all.
Yeah.
But the job market is like so unpredictable right now. There are so many layoffs. Like you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, like on a side note, we've been hearing of a lot of people in our like circles where they were so excited for a job that they like turned down other offers, of course, and then right before graduating, they get their offer taken away. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely very scary. So, like all of a sudden, my like heart stopped when I heard that because I was like, oh my God, she's asking me if I already had like my Sunnyvale housing and everything set because they're gonna take it away and everything. But turns out she was actually like, oh, we're just checking in to see if you still have a preference for New York. And I initially made it pretty clear to my recruiter that I really wanted New York when I got my offer as well. But yeah, she said that I couldn't switch to New York, of course. But this time, I was just like, I like stopped. I was like, am I actually hearing this? And then Amy was actually there and she could like hear what was going on. I didn't like show it to her, but she could like tell from my reaction. She was like, oh, you know?
Yeah.
And then she was like celebrating, of course, but my initial reaction was like, there's no way this is happening. And I felt like it was a bit frustrating because I had actually just signed my lease in Sunnyvale. I had my whole life planned, at least I thought I did. And like I spent so many months just envisioning my life in the Bay Area, and I was really looking forward to it, which is like crazy because being in New York at LinkedIn was my dream, like ideal position. But like for some reason, I was like, oh, that's gonna be so much work, like having to do all of that. And then I was like, oh, like I don't know if I actually want that anymore.
Yeah,
You know?
because you were mentally prepared already, and we had
Yeah.
already spent a lot of effort getting all of her stuff to a family friend in the Bay Area. So, and her flight was non-refundable. Our mom was here and planning to fly all the way to San Francisco with her, help her move in, and then fly back home to her home, like from there.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this was like a month before my actual start date. So it was very short notice. And all of a sudden, my mind was like thinking of like all the alternative paths of like what could happen. Because also, my recruiter told me that this wasn't guaranteed. She was just in the team matching phase for me and was asking me if I was open to being matched to a team in New York. So it was a lot of uncertainty because she was telling me that I could be in New York, but she also couldn't tell me that it was for certain. And so I was like frantically trying to figure out how I could switch everything over to a life in New York, but I still couldn't like guarantee that, and I didn't want to like set everything in stone yet.
So then, if we kind of give that TLDR, there were several weeks where Angel was like waiting for a call from the recruiter, like calling her back, like, "Hey, are there any updates?" At the same time, trying to find a replacement for her lease in Sunnyvale, and then also seeing whether you could actually like stay in New York, right? Like, I don't know. Oh, mostly finding the replacement, I think, was the big issue.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing because I signed a contract for a year-long lease in Sunnyvale. The house was amazing, by the way. I was so happy about it. But yeah, like if I couldn't find a replacement, there's like absolutely no way that I would be able to go to New York, and I could not afford like two like double the rent basically for a whole year. So it was possible that even if I did get matched to New York, I wouldn't be able to go and I would have to stay in Sunnyvale. So that was the most stressful part for me, I feel like.
Yeah. So how did you approach the situation where you were conflicted about your real desire for coming to New York at this point, but you also still wanted to, and then you still had to figure out whether it was even possible to? Like, how did you problem solve and manage your emotions and like make everything sorted out such that if you did get the offer for New York, like you would be ready to go?
Yeah, so I think I always thought that I would make my way to New York eventually. Like I was going to like work at LinkedIn for like several years, and maybe like I would have an opportunity to go to New York like after a few years or like something like that. I wasn't planning on like leaving the company or anything. But I was like, you know, like, yeah, it's fine. I'll be in the Bay, but maybe eventually I'll find my way to New York. And this is just my opportunity to do that right now, which is like optimal for me, like coming right out of college. Like I'm going to do it eventually. So might as well do it now. And I was talking to a lot of people, and they were saying, honestly, the amount of extra work that it will take for you to like move everything over and kind of plan everything, like that amount of work is kind of, what's the word? It's like, it's very small in comparison to like what you'll gain. How do you say that?
Like, it's not worth it?
No. They're saying like that, like the amount of work to do all of that is incomparable to, it's like worth it to do it. there's like a word for it. It's like small.
Negligible?
Yeah. The amount of work is negligible compared to like what I'll gain. And it is exactly like what I wanted. And I thought, it's worth it to do for sure. And even though there was a lot of uncertainty, I had to really focus on what I could control. That's like the most important part, because there were a few times where my recruiter was like, I'll let you know by this time. And I was like, okay, just like waiting. And then unfortunately she had to push it back, which I understand because like it's a big change. So it requires a lot of time. But like what I focused on was preparing for any situation that would happen. So trying to find a replacement for my housing, trying to think of different ways to move all of my stuff over in the case that it did happen. And then I was super fortunate and very lucky to have it all planned out by the time my recruiter did tell me that I could go to New York, and it was confirmed, because right at that point I could just like sprint and like tell my replacement, all right, you got the place, like start shipping my stuff over. And it was just like go after that.
Yeah, I think it was super important how you tried to control everything that you could, both with actions and mentally. Like you were mentally preparing yourself by finding a replacement, like a possible replacement, and mentally preparing yourself for any situation that happens. I think it's really important that, when life throws you curveballs, that in this case are technically a good curveball, that you're still able to take that in stride. Because like if you were not someone who could make it happen and like just like really push to figure out all the problems, then maybe even after getting this great opportunity, you wouldn't be able to take it.
Yeah. During all of this, I was having a lot of sleepless nights. Like when I laid down in bed, I would be thinking of like different things that I could do to like try to make it work. And like in the middle of it, I was like, oh my God, this sucks. And then like as I was waiting for my recruiter to get back to me, I was like, you know what? Is this even worth it? Like I'm doing so much work, but like I don't even know if this is for anything. But in the end, like after all of that, it was so worth it. And like regardless of the outcome, at least I did everything that I could have done. And if I wasn't going to be in New York, that's fine, because like, my recruiter tried everything that she could have, and I tried everything that I could have as well. And also I just wanted to throw in here, like my recruiter is amazing. I think I had the best recruiter ever. Like who else would just like remember that like I had such a strong preference and would try to like put in so much effort to get me my like dream position. And not only that, she tried to place me on a team that would make me extremely successful as well, not just put me on any New York team. She wanted to make sure that I would be able to be successful right off the get-go.
Yeah, I think there are several lessons to learn here, because I talk a lot on this podcast about how to build your A+ life, hence the name of the podcast. So it's like success comes with a combination of your own efforts and luck, right? But luck doesn't exist if you can't even grasp it when it comes your way, So I think it was a combination of like you made yourself lucky by being very vocal about your desires. I remember Angel told me, she told her recruiter several times, like, hey, like if there's a New York opportunity, just know that I'm very, very willing to do that. And so that is a soft skill, right? Like you can't get what you don't ask for. And plus, like I'm sure because Angel is a very nice person, that the recruiter liked Angel, right? So then would be like, hey, you know what? I'm not just a recruiter, and I'm not just here to like earn some commission off of getting her a job. I actually want the best for her. So that is another people skill that is really important to have. Angel was also resourceful. When she had to find a replacement, she was hitting up all the Facebook groups, asking like all of her connections, just like not really taking no for an answer. Like you didn't give up,
Yeah, it was like pretty hopeless in the beginning. Like I asked so many people, and because it was like only a few weeks before I was supposed to start, like no one was looking for housing at that point, and I was like, oh, am I even gonna find someone? But Facebook Marketplace was actually very good, or it was Facebook groups, not Facebook Marketplace. It was definitely very helpful. I got a lot of interest from that. But yeah, we were talking to our mom the other day, and our mom just kept saying, like, this is actually just fate. Like, it's like so incredible that like this has happened to you. It's like everything has worked out for you and Amy. Like, you get to be in the same city, and like it's just like amazing that like I can have such a great job just coming out of college. But it's not just fate. Like, if you think about it, it could have happened to anyone. Like, a bunch of people, like a bunch of interns all put that they wanted to be in New York City for their like full-time jobs. But like, I don't think that this has happened to anyone else, and there has to be a reason for that. It's because I did vocalize to my recruiter that that was my like preference, and I said it like multiple times, but I wasn't like, put me in New York, you know. Like, I was very nice about it, and like, yeah, of course there was a bit of luck to it as well, but also my hard work also helped me land that return offer as well.
Yeah, just being proactive, and also when you express your desires and also just like interact with someone more, you will take up more psychological mind share. Like, maybe she had this list of people in front of her that she could transfer to New York, but Angel would be the first person that pops up simply because she was super enthusiastic about it, you know? Yeah. And also, I think what's really important here is that even though Angel was like kind of like hopeless sometimes, like I was there just being like, hey, you know, you can't think about what you lose. Like, you can't think about all this hard work to move to New York. You have to focus on what you gain. I think that's something that a lot of people might miss out on in terms of creating their dream life. It's like, when you think of, you know, my friend gave me this example. So say there's a genie bottle, right? And then you get 3 wishes. There are plenty of things people would wish for, right? But the difference between the people who get that versus the people who don't is that the people who do get that are also willing to take the downsides to get that thing. You know what I mean? Like, people will be jealous of your success, but they will never be jealous of the work it took you to get that success. And so I think it's like, the more you focus on the upsides versus, oh, this is going to be so much work, or like, I'm going to have to, you know, put in more effort, or like study harder, or like work harder, you know, it's like, those are negligible, your new word today, compared to the result you could have. Because, well, this might be a toxic way to think about it, but in my planner, I remember in high school, I wrote, pain is temporary, GPA is forever.
I mean, it's true, I guess.
Yeah. But it's like, basically, you didn't actually lose anything by putting in the extra work, right? It's not like you had like, you pulled all-nighters, or like you missed out on other fun things, right? I think sometimes people automatically stray away from effort or work because it's effort or work, but it's like, what would your alternative be, like, with that time you have in front of you?
Yeah, I think a key thing in this is also just like manifesting like your life, right? I honestly, a few years ago, I didn't even know what manifestation meant, but like, yeah, like this entire time when I was like looking for replacements and trying to prepare for this potential outcome, I, in my head, was always acting like I was going to be in New York. And it was like really scary because I was like, oh, what if it doesn't happen? But I kept, like, the way I was going about things was as if, okay, like this will be the outcome. And then it ended up happening because I'm very thankful for my recruiter, but it also ended up happening because I had put in the effort and just acted like this is going to be like my life if this happens, and I'm just going to go for it. And yeah, is that the true definition of manifestation?
Like, it's like you acted in alignment with your end goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like not just New York specifically, but it's like whatever kind of ideal person you want to be. You have to do what that ideal person already does, right? Because if your ideal self is super successful and say like owns a successful business, like that person is likely going to be the kind of person that wakes up at 7 a.m. and like works out as first thing in the morning, for example, right? That person's going to be super organized and on top of their stuff. So in order to make your ideal self a reality, you have to already be doing the actions of that ideal self. I think that's a core part of manifestation, where it's not like, I think a lot of the TikToks out there talk about, it's like, it's not just thinking about it, but you have to also act in alignment with that belief.
Yeah, I was waking up at like 7 a.m., checking my phone and seeing if people were responding to me about like replacements, and like going to bed late, trying to think of all these different things. It was definitely a lot of work.
Yeah, but also just like even before this sudden offer, like Angel worked so tirelessly recruiting for actually a different position that would be in New York, just because she wanted New York so much.
I'm sweating.
Yeah, intermission. Sweaty. So yeah, I want to just mention one more thing about the like think about what you gain, not what you lose kind of attitude. It also helps you stay a lot more positive, right? It's always about like that half full instead of half empty idea. So also last night someone was asking me like, what's your biggest challenge about New York, like living in New York City? And I couldn't really think of one, because in my mind, I realized people would easily say like, oh, it's stinky, or it's so hot, or like it's dirty, you know, or like we pay so much rent for a tiny space. But in my head, those seemed so insignificant that it didn't seem like I ran into any challenges, because I love living in New York City so much that like I would not choose to like get rid of those quote unquote struggles, like, and also forfeit all the amazing things about the city, right? Like all the opportunities and all the fun and like the lifestyle, right? Like when I see that the street is a little dirty here or like stinky, like that's just character. That's like what you signed up for, right? Like I signed up for all the great things, but that also means I signed up for some of the not so great things, but those are insignificant. And that's how you stay more positive. And yeah, when I kind of gave that answer that like I couldn't think of anything challenging and like my reasoning behind it, then like the lady was like, wow, oh my gosh, that's so positive. That's so splendid, or something like that, right? So I think that's how we can approach any kind of goal we have, because goals are really, really hard to achieve, right? But we have to focus on all the upsides in pursuit of that goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if this is relevant, but I think in any situation that you're placed in, it's important to like still be positive, like Amy said. Like even if I was going to be in the Bay Area, I was super excited about all the possible like outcomes that I could have, all the opportunities, and I was super stoked to still even be at LinkedIn, like, and working there. And so no matter like what situation or like what outcome I would have had, I think either way I would have been like very happy. Even if I didn't get New York, I had like envisioned my life there, you know, and I was super excited. Even though it wasn't the optimal situation I was given, I still tried to make the most out of it by looking for like great roommates and finding like my like most optimal housing, you know, things that would still make me really excited. And I kind of formed my perfect life, quote unquote, in the Bay Area still, even though it was still not ideal, I kind of made it something that I was still super excited for. And honestly, a bit bummed out that I don't get to live that life, you know, because I had constructed it so well and like put in so much work. But it's a great thing that I had set myself up to be in like a successful or like good situation regardless.
Yeah, that's literally the definition of like, oh, life is what you make it, right? And it's great because that also means that every single option in front of you is a good one. That's a really good way to think about it. Yeah. It's like
the Bay Area does not suck. It's just, I think, you know, you have preferences, just want to say that.
Yeah. Everywhere is great, but she's a little biased toward New York because of how much I like it here. I
Yeah,
think because
and yeah.
sorry, because we both grew up in like more urban, or like, how do you explain this, like suburban areas, and so the prospect of living in the city where you could walk everywhere and like you step outside and there's like yummy food is just very enticing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always just gotta follow where you go.
Yeah. So this is funny. Angel the other day, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I realized I've been following you my whole life." So how does that feel? Or like, I don't know. What is it like for the younger sister?
I was actually talking to Gohar Khan about this the other day.
Oh, wow, just name drop it. She's been meeting some celebrities recently, so
Thanks to you.
She's a little, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Gohar was telling me that he said that his younger brother has also basically been following him. I think it's like sometimes people look down on that because they're like, why are you just following your older sibling? Like, get your own life, I think that I have been able to still kind of follow Amy, but do things in my own way. Like, we had pretty different, or not outcomes, but like paths and like experiences for sure. Like, I definitely focused a lot more on like sports, for example, like in high school and like college, and like, yeah, I know you did sports too, don't worry, I'm not discounting.
Yeah, but for context, to like really paint the picture of how you followed, so it's like I did math competitions, she did math competitions, but also a little different because like I focused more on the academic competitions and Angel focused a little more on sports. But then I went to Caltech, Angel went to Caltech, then New York,
Mm-hmm.
and also Angel's interested in content creation now because she thinks that I've paved the path to show what's possible. So yeah.
Actually, I think I've always been interested in content creation. It's just like, yeah, for sure, like you've shown me that it is very possible to like
to take it more seriously.
Yeah, to take it more seriously, and I think that is exactly like what I needed to kind of get the courage to try to like put in more effort, because before I was like, like, yeah, this is just like fun, for myself, but I think it's really cool to see that it can really take off, and that's kind of what I was getting into. Is like I was telling Gohar, sorry,
wow, you're on a first name basis with him now.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like pretty cool because like older siblings, they're always going through life like kind of blindly. It's like a dark forest and they have to figure out things on their own. And like the younger sibling, like of course it's great to have an older sibling to look up to, and they've already basically cleared the path for you. Like they shine the light through the dark forest for you, and of course, like if they're successful in that, why don't you just follow it? And yeah, of course we have very different ways of following that same path, but like, I mean, we just ended up being in the same situations, I guess, but I think it's been pretty beneficial for both of us. And yeah, I'm very thankful that you have been successful in your path, I guess.
Yeah, because sometimes I think I've seen sibling pairs where like the older one actually doesn't have the best outcome, and then the younger kid's like, I don't want to do that, But yeah, like
that's
I think
also good. You also learn from that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like in this case, we are pretty similar in our interests and desires because of how we grew up. Like we obviously grew up like experiencing the same things, and so like we both love singing. We both love like the prospect of living somewhere in New York. So that's why I think it's like very natural.
Mm-hmm.
And
also, I think like ending up in New York doesn't necessarily, I mean, even though we have gone to the same places, it's not like we're doing the exact same things. Like, we're both going to be in New York, but we're doing very different things. That's like the beauty of New York too, is that like there are so many different people here. You can meet so many like amazing driven people who do like so many crazy things, and that's just like super cool how there's just so many opportunities here.
Yeah, I think it's like there are a lot of lessons to be gained from both an elder sibling and then like a younger sibling. So in my case, it's like if you don't have someone to look up to, you have to be really open to the possibilities and to try, you know. Basically, if you try hard enough in certain areas and you're also interested in them, some paths just open up for you automatically like fate, and you're like, oh, well, I should walk down this path and this is a natural next step, like how Caltech was for me. Like I didn't even know of Caltech when I was in most of like high school, but then working hard in science and math, just suddenly when it came to junior senior year, I was like, oh, you know what, this school seems pretty cool. And then I ended up going, and then like again, we didn't know anything about Caltech, but then I was like, this is the most unique, crazy experience ever. I raved about it. And only because I was open-minded to try that and give myself the ability to even get in, then Angel knew, hey, actually, I might like this too.
Mm-hmm. You definitely gave me the insider scoop of what Caltech was like. And yeah, I feel like I got a leg up compared to other people and seeing all the cool traditions that Caltech has. And you look like you were having such an amazing time. And like, of course, you know me best as well. So you thought this would be a great environment for Angel to be in too. So of course, like there's bias too, because, you know, like you're the only person who has like this single experience, and I can't get like the inside scoop of like other places. So like I'm definitely more biased towards like trying to follow you. But I mean, I'm glad it worked out. Sometimes I do think like, what if I didn't follow you exactly? But actually I didn't follow you exactly. I'm my own person. I'm not going to be making education content.
Yeah, she specifically said, hey, Amy, you know, you've inspired me to also try YouTube now, but I definitely don't want to make your kind of content. Like, let me make that very, very clear. She said that several times.
I think I said that because I know that you would definitely stomp on me really hard if I tried to make the same content, because I think you're definitely more suited for this kind of thing because you are like an older sister to everyone else.
Oh, that makes sense. And yeah, and she doesn't mean stomp as in like I would like purposefully kill her channel.
No. I'm just saying you're already such a big fish, you know?
Oh, okay. There's something else I wanted to say. I forgot.
Also, I'm a software engineer and you're not.
Yes, so that is definitely a big difference. But Angel has already told me that she's like, oh, one of the fears of starting a job is like, oh my gosh, I'm scared that I'm like not gonna like this for the rest of my life. Because like I remember when I was starting my first job, this is kind of getting kind of like in a different direction now. But I was like, wow, this is where I'll be working for the next 40 years. Or like this is the moment where the rest of my work career starts.
Yeah, I did want to talk about this because like it's scary, like thinking tomorrow I'll be starting a 9-to-5 job for like basically the rest of my life. And it's like, you know, I think it's we've gone through school, I guess, like, and I guess that was kind of full time, right? Even on weekends sometime, right? But I don't know, something like that's really scary about like being in a job, you know? It's like you're an adult.
Something's just different. I think it's the fact that you don't have a certain light at the end of the tunnel, because at least in high school you knew, okay, after the 4 years, oh, graduation, woohoo. And then same for college, at least you have summer breaks.
I think one thing that I am looking forward to is like meeting everyone in the office and trying to make the most out of it again. I think that's been kind of like said a lot during this podcast, during this session, is just like I should not view it as just like work, you know, like whenever you're doing something, you should be very excited about it. And I am very thankful that tomorrow I get to go to work and I get to start my job. And honestly, like I've kind of been itching to kind of, oh my God, why did I just forget the word like now?
It's okay. I'm like this to this day. It's like my vocabulary is so much better when I'm not being filmed.
Yeah. No, I was talking to Daniel about this the other day.
Daniel is her BF, like her best friend.
Yeah. My girly pop. Oh, that's weird. Oh, I want to be intellectually stimulated. It's been a very long time since I have like been able to challenge myself. And like honestly, during my senior year, I think like my last term, or I guess during my senior year, I didn't get a chance to like do a ton of like super challenging work in comparison to like my other years. But just the other day when you were like looking at your files and you were like, oh my god, like my files disappeared, I like got super excited. I was like, oh, I'm a computer person, like,
Ooh.
oh, like I want to help, and like I want to use my skills to like solve this, you know?
This is a sign of your calling. That's a good point to make. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am excited for this opportunity. And like, you know, I shouldn't think of like work as like work, you know, but the other thing is like outside of just like work, it is kind of difficult because you don't have like summer breaks and like big things like you would expect in like high school or like college. But one thing that I've learned is that you should like always have something that you're excited about, and look forward to. For example, planning like a big trip at the end of the year, or like always having something so that you're like, oh, I'm excited for that. Yeah, does that make sense? Because also, I don't want it to sound like you're like, oh, work sucks, and then like, oh, but I'm looking forward to that vacation, you know? Like, I don't want it to sound like that, but like, you know, you should enjoy work.
A lot of people live like that, though. Like, unfortunately, that's how adult life is, and I was too, especially when I was working in consulting. I was just like, oh, the weekend, oh, the like winter break, you know, all that stuff. And I guess that was a sign that like consulting wasn't my calling per se. I think that ideally like you enjoy your job to some extent, but I know many of us don't have that luxury to just pick and choose what job we want. But it's like kind of reframing something as like, what do you gain from it? And I think at least we don't have homework anymore, you know, like you can go home and spend your nights like however you kind of want to.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. Like, in a way, a job is like really nice because like at the end of the day, you don't have to think about like homework or anything else. You can just like relax. Yeah. But at the same time, I think the scary thing is that it's so set in stone that it can be kind of like, it feels like it's restricting almost, you know, because it's like, okay, like these set hours, I have to do this. And then like at the end of the day, like, what do I do? Like, there's nothing, right? Like in college, there was a lot of spontaneity, like, and you could kind of like go about your day and like do whatever, like hang out with friends or whatever. But then like in a job, it's just like 9 to 5, like it feels like you're defined by it, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you go to like dinner parties, everyone's like, what do you do as the second question? They ask you after your name.
Yeah. I don't know if that part made sense. You can cut it out if you want to.
I think it did. Or it's just because I understand the way you talk. But I think it was interesting. So
okay.
Good job.
We'll see. If it doesn't make sense, you can cut out.
So something I found really interesting is like the perception of each of us, you know, because we're similar, but we're also like different in many ways. And ew, see, like she's weirder than me, like you can tell if for the visual listeners out there. Okay, so what were you gonna say? I feel like you were just excited to say something.
Oh, I just wanted to clarify that I'm excited to work.
Okay, Angel's like very scared of what she says on the internet. She's like, I am scared of work, but I'm actually really excited. Don't worry. And also, I like New York, but that doesn't mean I don't like the Bay Area.
trying to not get canceled.
She's already scared of not being canceled. Okay, so to wrap up, because you're a fresh new grad, I want to hear a little bit about your experience at Caltech. So, or like in college in general, what did you gain from college, and was it worth it?
Let me think about this. What did I gain? I gained weight. That's when I gained. But I lost some of it, I think. I'll probably gain a little bit of it back. But
Okay.
sorry. What did I gain? I think I gained confidence, and like I gained a better sense of who I am as a person. This is like outside of just academics, but like being around like-minded people, and we like had similar interests, I felt like I was not judged as much as I felt like I was in high school, and I could kind of act more like myself. And with that, I definitely became more confident and felt like I could show my true self, and I could help grow my true self more by acting like myself more with my friends. And I got to learn so much from the different people, like the geniuses that I met in college. I got so many like amazing opportunities and met some insane people. I think I already said that. But what do I say?
So yeah. I think that Angel and I definitely had some interesting experiences before college where like we just didn't necessarily find our place in the world, if that makes sense, or like who we were, or like what our real personalities were. I think that potentially happens to many people, where when we grow up, we suddenly feel very self-conscious about who we are, and our high school environment was not the most conducive to being ourselves, I guess. So by trying our hardest and still sticking true to who we were in some format led us to be able to go to a college where we did feel like we could be ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be a whole nother dedicated discussion about like how to find yourself and like how to grow into the person you are. But I'll just say that if you don't feel so confident right now, just realize like learning confidence is part of the journey, because we were both definitely like very unconfident. But just going along life and meeting new people, having new experiences, this will happen very gradually. And you won't realize when suddenly you're like, wow, I am really different than how I was before.
Yeah, the biggest thing is who you surround yourself with. In it, looking back, I had a lot of toxic friends, and like I think they definitely like they definitely contributed to me being like less confident and like not being able to find my true self. In college, I think I mean, there's still not everyone's great, but oh, your pop socket thing's not on.
Yeah, I took it off so the phone can fit on the tripod.
You can take it off?
Yes. Okay.
Oh.
Angel's like, squirrel.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, now I can't think. That's from
your
Up,
friends.
right?
Yes, that was from Up, the movie.
Like, one last thing I will say is that like once I was able to find the people that I wanted to surround myself with without having to care about the number of friends I had, and like the type of friend group that would look really cool if I like, that would seem really cool if I like hung out with them, you know, like that's when I was really able to thrive. And I am super goofy with my friends, and I like love doing that, and I love like just making people laugh. And I don't know, that sounds like I'm cocky now.
It's just like
okay, I love making people laugh.
Yeah. Well, so how do I salvage this? Basically,
Sorry, I'm sweating.
Yeah, it's like really hot, and we can't turn the AC on because it'll make the sound quality not as good. Basically, like you probably heard advice like be yourself, or like find your crowd, right? Like this advice, but it feels like you have to learn these things on your own by experiencing them, right? It's like it's great to try and learn from advice, to try and not learn things the hard way, but sometimes the way you really internalize the advice is by actually living through that and being like, oh, so that's why everyone advises this.
You mature a lot by being on your own. I think being in college is the first time when I kind of had to navigate everything by myself. Like I didn't have like my family to go back to at the end of the day, and I was just always with like this group of friends that I had like met in college. And what was I talking about?
Okay, I feel like Angel is reaching the end of
Wait,
her.
no. I had a point. What was I saying? Oh, like just having to navigate on your own really teaches you lessons because you are like going through it like firsthand, you know, and going through these lessons definitely builds you up as a person way more than just hearing it from someone else.
Yeah, you learn by doing. It's that Chinese proverb. It's like, I hear, I forget, I see, I remember, I do, I understand. Boom.
Wow.
So the question that you did not answer, was it worth it? Is college worth it? Should everyone go to college?
It depends on what you want to do. You could drop out if you want to and then found Google. You could, yeah. One time, I didn't even know that. Okay.
Whoa. Now everyone's going to wonder what you're going to say.
Oh, I didn't know a lot of things.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Oh, I was like, today, I was like, is New York City, like, are there cities outside of New York City in New York? Because I started looking at the map today. And then, I mean, it wasn't loading for me. But I was like, if these are all neighborhoods in New York, then is New York City just the only city in New York? And then I was like, okay, my geography is really bad.
Oh, yeah. I remember when we drive back from Denver, Angel's like, are we back in Colorado yet?
Okay, that was when I was in elementary school, though.
But this...
Oh, no, sorry. The mic wasn't facing me. That was when I was in elementary school, though.
Yeah, but this lack of geography skills has been relatively consistent. But it's okay because I'm also very unaware of things. Like, fun fact, for one of our like Caltech Ditch Day tradition, like stacks. So for Ditch Day, there were signs to hold up pretending like you were a criminal. And then there was one that said Mile High Club. And I was so excited to hold it up because I was like, I'm from Colorado. That's the Mile High State. And so
Denver is the Mile High City.
Oh my gosh. You exposed yourself again.
No.
Okay, but anyway.
You also didn't know what was.
That just shows I'm innocent, okay? Better than the other way around. Anyway, so I just like held it up with a big smile on my face, and that was posted out to my Facebook. And then my friends saw it one day, and they're like, Amy, did you mean to post this? I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's so funny, right? I'm from Colorado. They're like, can you please take it down? And my friend told me what it meant. So yeah.
That's funny.
That's how clueless we are sometimes.
How did we get to this? Oh, you were like, is college worth it? And then I started talking.
Oh, no.
Whoa. Shawnee!
Okay. That's the sign we are over time. Thank you so much, Angel.
Oh, I didn't get to say yes or no, though.
Okay. Hurry. Yes or no?
It was worth it for me, I think, for sure. But everyone has their own paths, and you should do what you want to do. If you don't want to go to college, don't go to college. But don't.
Yeah. I think it's like, actually, that's my bad. I think I wanted to ask if like Caltech was worth it specifically. But like.
Okay. Yeah.
But like, I think we already expressed how like, you know, it's the journey that like teaches you lessons that's worth it. You know, like everything you can gain from, like nothing is a waste of time if you are trying your best, right? Yeah. So yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Good luck.
You're welcome.
Good luck on your first day.
That was weird.
On the job. Even though it's very chill for her, she's starting work at like 12 p.m. tomorrow. Like, that's the life of a software girly in tech. Just kidding.
It won't new higher orientation.
Yeah, just kidding. It won't actually always be like that. Thank you, Angel.
Very excited. I'm joining the corporate world. Wish me luck.
Yes, check out her channel linked in the description. She will be updating us with her New York City life if you're interested in that. And Angel's actually pretty good at some finance things, much better than I am. So she might be discussing those topics as well. And she's pretty funny because she, as she said a couple times, she likes making people laugh.
Angel.
Yeah. So
My handle is Wangel
yes,
because I copied Amy, but I got her consent.
and you just said you don't copy me or you don't follow everything.
Wait, okay, mine is like honestly it works so much better than yours because like W Angel like but WANG.
Yeah, I know. Yes, it's better than Wavy.
Wang.
Yeah.
Oh, I cringe.
Okay, say thank you.
Thank you.
Let us know if you'd like to have Angel back and tell us more about sister things.
Sister things. Thank you. Sorry I was kind of weird. I was just nervous.
It's funny. Thank you. Good job. You did a good job. Okay, I'm just
Welcome to your A+ life. I feel like doing a podcast would be really fun actually.
I wonder if your voice sounds as sexy as you think it does right now.
I think, dude, it's so deep and it's like, oh, yeah. Like, I like making it fade out, you know? Like, you know, I would love to have some headphones on and just, like, listen to my voice.